All right, guys, how's it going? Back with another video. This is gonna be my picks for week three. Uh, Saturday night games are tomorrow. Some good games. Pretty excited. I'll just dive straight in here. So, fortunately, I'm off to a 1-0 start. Comes at the expense of my team. Oh my God, don't even get me started on this game. Just an absolute disaster. Was like mentally depressed watching this game. Just so sad, just so embarrassing that game. Just such an awful effort from my team. I'm just happy we didn't get shut out, honestly. That was just god awful. But at least I successfully predicted the game right. But getting into the Sunday games, starting off with Giants and Browns. Yeah, poor Giants. Only 6% of people in my league are picking them. That's unfortunate. So I actually think the Giants could win this game. I do see scenario. They played a lot better last week. They should have beaten the Commanders last week, but I'm going to go with the Browns in this one. Browns are at home. They played much better in week two than week one, even though they, their offense specifically had a pretty shaky game last week against the Jags. But I think this is the game where, well, I think the Browns defense can have a really good game. They played good last week against the Jags, and even though the box score is not going to show it with the score, I think they actually played pretty solid against the Cowboys. The Giants, I said, should have beaten the Commanders, but the Browns are just simply the better football team. They're at home. They get a better defense. Their offense is better. Coaching's better. I'm just not going to overthink this one, but I could see the Giants. It would surprise me the Giants win. I actually know it won because of the Browns money lines in one of my parlays. So the Giants probably will win this game with me saying that. But it wouldn't surprise me too much. Sorry. It would surprise me the Giants won this game, but I could see I wouldn't be it wouldn't be the most shocking upset, but I do see a scenario where they could win. I could I think the Giants somehow win this game. Their defense is going to play well. Browns offense is going to struggle. I just do not see the Giants moving the ball well on the Browns defense. I'm not going to overthink this one. I'm just going to go with the Browns in this one. Packers Titans, really interesting one. I'm going to go with the Packers with the assumption Jordan Love is playing. If Jordan Love is not playing, I'm picking the Titans. So I'm going to, it looks like Love is going to try to play. He's questionable. He's back at practice. So I'm just going to assume Love is going to play. If he does not, I'm going to go with the Titans. But I just think, I guess I'll do two breakdowns here. So if Love plays, how, how healthy is he going to be? Probably almost certainly not 100%. They say he's going to be on multiple weeks of this injury. This is 2 weeks if he plays tomorrow. So his mobility is probably going to be a little limited, but I think he'll be good enough to. Well, I'm just assuming here. I don't really, know how his ankle's doing and stuff, but I'm going to assume he's going to be good enough to at least run the semi-typical Packers Jordan Love led offense, play action, bootleg, things like that. I definitely think this is a low scoring game, regardless of Love or Willis is in there. I think this has like 2017 written all over it. I think regardless of who the quarterback is for the Packers, I think this is a close game. Obviously, more so with the Love, more confidence rather that it'll be close if Love plays than Willis. But um, yeah, I just think Packers are the better team than the Titans. They game plan really well. They'll probably force Levis into another boneheaded turnover. I think both defenses are really good. I just think the Packers offense is better than the Titans, not by a wide margin, but especially in the second half, the Titans offense has really struggled the past 2 weeks. They only put up 7 in the second half of both games, and it came on a insane Calvin Ridley catch. They were kind of fortunate to put 7 up in the second half alone, but the Packers offense, Matt LaFleur, love Matt LaFleur, really good game planner. Showcased that last week, winning with Malik Willis. Josh Jacobs, I think, had 33 carries, just a master game plan and execution. Even though Love plays, I could see the Titans winning this game. It would not surprise me at all. If Love plays, I think this is a 60-40 split in my confidence. I think the Titans, like I said, I think it's a low scoring game. Whoever makes more mistakes offensively, I think is going to lose this one. That's why I'm going to go with the Packers in this one. I think the Titans offense is going to make more mistakes, but Titans definitely are capable of winning this game. I think they're going to put up between 17 and probably 21-ish, maybe 24-ish. Um, that could be enough to beat the Packers with Love. If it definitely, I think if Willis plays, the Titans' target number for points is going to be around 17, and I think that'll be enough to win the game. If Willis plays, it's obviously going to be a lot of what happened last week against the Colts with a lot of running, a lot of short passing for Willis, a lot of Willis runs, just him being a game manager. And the Titans defense is going to key in on that. They're a really good defense. They lead the league right now in least amount of not receiving yards, the least amount of yards period given up defensively, and somehow 0-2 from that. I think since the 1994 Cardinals are the first team to start 0-2 while leading the league in defensive yards per game, as in least yards given up, I mean. So Titans defense could have a good game regardless of who's in there at quarterback for the Packers. If Willis is in there, I think Jacobs is he'll have enough carries where he breaks one off, gets a good run. But I think for the most part, consistently, they'll be able to contain the Packers' run game. Willis is going to have a rough game. Could be a revenge game for him. He was obviously on the Titans for the Packers, I guess. Just thought of that actually right now. But I think the Titans defense will definitely be a problem for Willis. And it's kind of hard for me to imagine the Titans starting out 0-3, even though I only predict them to go 5-12, especially because they probably should be at least 1-1, but probably 2-0, honestly. Just those Will Levis turnovers just killing them. Yeah, I'm gonna give the very slight edge to the Packers in this game, assuming Love plays. Again, if Willis plays, I'll be logging right back onto this tomorrow morning. They announce that and changing my pick to the Titans. I'm tempted to pick the Titans even if Love plays, honestly, but I'm going to give the slight edge to the Packers this one. I'm going to assume 79% of people are picking the Packers because they also assume Love is playing, else that number would be significantly lower. This game, Bears-Colts, this is another really difficult one to pick. I'm going to go with the underdog in this one, the Bears. It's relatively close to a 50-50 split, 42-58. Closer to a 40-60 split, but it's sort of close to a 50-50 split in this game. This one, I think I have a good feeling might bite me on the ass. The Colts played so bad last week. Defensively, they just got absolutely gashed by Josh Jacobs in the run game. Richardson and the offense did not look good. Really weird game from Shane Steichen from a play calling perspective. Jonathan Taylor was getting it going, and they just did not give him enough carries. They should have gave him more carries. It was a reasonable deficit they were facing. It wasn't like 3 scores, 4 scores. They had time to run the ball, and they weren't doing it. The reason I'm going to go with the Bears in this game is simply because even though the Colts offense is definitely, even though they did not look good last week, it's definitely far better than the Bears offense has been this season. The Bears offense has been absolutely horrible this season so far. But I just think the Bears defense obviously playing much better than the Colts, especially I just said they're getting dashed in the run game by Josh Jacobs. They got absolutely killed by Joe Mixon week 1. And what are the Bears struggling to do right now? Everything offensively, but specifically, they cannot run the ball to save their lives. DeAndre Swift has done pretty much nothing. They are really, really struggling to run the ball. I think this is the game where they get it going in the run game. They have a pretty good game running the ball. I think offensively, the Bears, this is the game where it might click. The Colts are just struggling defensively, and the Bears defense, I think, is going to be able to contain the Colts offense well enough for their offense to pretty much win the game for it. I think the Bears in this game score around I want to say around 21 points. Yeah, 21 points, I would say. Maybe 24, but probably closer to 21, I would say. I think the Colts score around, I'm going to say 14 to 17 points. I think this is definitely a close game. A lot of running clock in this one. I think Steichen's going to give Taylor a lot more carries, get Richardson going and some read options, draws, things like that. A lot of running clock, short passing from the Bears. Yeah, a lot of running clock. This game's going to blow by, just like the Colts Packers did in the 1 o'clock window last week. The Colts definitely could win this game. They're favored. They probably should win this game, especially at home. If this was in Chicago, I definitely feel better picking the Bears. But it being in Indy, I'm definitely more iffy on going with the Bears. Oh boy, just a really, yeah. It's I would not at all be surprised if the Colts win. Again, probably should win the game. Really hard for me to see them starting at 0-3. I think I predicted, I want to say 6-11 or 7-10 from them, which I got a lot of slack for. Which myself, I really was like, they're probably going to win more than that. But trying to even the win loss with other teams, I kind of give them the short end of the stick. I'm like, they'll probably win more games than that, but I'm going to have to officially predict them win 6 or 7 games. But I mean, they definitely deserved to lose last week. But week 1, they were back and forth with the Texans. It's hard for me to start them or see them start out 0-3, but I am predicting it to happen. And the Bears got a pretty favorable schedule coming up. I took a peek at it. If they are able to win this one, I think they play the Packers next week. So I guess that game could go either way. And then after that, I forget exactly who, but I want to say they play some like pretty bad teams. So they should be able to pile up some wins in the coming weeks. So this is a pretty good game for them. Or I mean, sorry, a pretty big game for them. Gonna go with the Bears in the upset. Hopefully this one does not bite me on the ass. I do think Richardson. I could definitely. It's hard to predict. It's been very up and down. I think Eberflus could coach defense well enough and force Richardson into a couple bad turnovers. That could be a difference in this game. Here's another game. Very, very difficult to predict. I am surprised 70% of people in my league are picking the Texans. This is very. I'm not touching this game betting at all. Very difficult game to predict. I think this is. I'm going to probably say 60-40 split for me, confidence wise. I mean, not at all surprised that the Vikings end up winning this game. Definitely, if this was in Houston, I'd feel a lot better picking the Texans. But it being in Minnesota, they get a really good fan base. They play really well at home. They've obviously played really well this season. They've been banged up, but they're still 2-0. They slaughtered the Giants week 1, and then they played the Niners. The box score is not going to indicate it. They outplayed them by more than 6 points, which is what they won by. They were in control pretty much the whole game last week. Darnold's obviously looked good. Their defense is playing at an insane level. I think the Texans. I think the Texans offense, they played well last week, but they should have put up a lot more points. They moved the ball a lot better than the score indicated. I think the Texans offense, it's hard for me to say they're going to have a good or bad game. I'm going to say the Texans offense plays really good in this one, and the Texans defense also steps up in this one. I think the Vikings offense will have a good game, but not as efficient as they have been the first 2 weeks of the season so far. Last week, I think I said Sam Darnold was going to turn back into Sam Darnold against the Niners defense. That did not happen. Credit Sam Darnold. I'm not going to predict that. I think Sam Darnold will play fairly well, but I think Texans overall are the better team. I just trust their offense and their defense more than the Vikings. Not at all surprised if the Vikings end up winning this game. Going to give the slight edge to the Texans in this one. This is a very hard game to predict, though, especially with Brian Flores, his crazy scheme, as Brock Purdy put it. Love Brian Flores. It's very hard to predict. Originally I had the Vikings and I thought about it more, kind of listened to some people talk about it. I switched my pick. So since I switched to the Texans, the Vikings probably will win the game. but I'm gonna go with the Texans here. And even though I am fairly confident in them. I am fairly confident. Definitely, I think this is a close game. I don't see either team blowing either team out in this one. I think the Texans is a favorite by. I think I saw. I'm gonna look right now. I think the Texans are favored. Let me look. On it as a road team, they're favored. That was yeah. They're only favored by one, so this is pretty much a pick 'em game betting wise too with the spread. Moving on, Eagles Saints. This game I have a strong feeling this one is going to bite me in the ass. I honestly want to pick the Eagles, even though logically the Saints should win this game. Just my gut is telling me the Eagles win this game. Everyone's getting high on the Saints. Obviously, two blowout wins. Their offense has been historically good to start the year. They're at home. If this was in Philly, I would definitely pick the Eagles even without AJ Brown. Um, but actually, maybe I don't know. I don't know. Actually, this is in Philly. I'd have to think about it even more. But it being in New Orleans, I think definitely plays a factor. Oh, but this is really hard. Definitely back and forth in this game. Obviously, no AJ Brown. That hurts the Eagles. They were able to move the ball pretty well against the Falcons last week. They didn't score, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. The Falcons defense played pretty well last week. They were able to move the ball, but it was like very slowly they moved the ball. They didn't really get too many chunk plays. So if that's how they're going to have to play against the Saints, I feel better picking the Saints with that in mind. I just think the Eagles defense, they've had their spots the first two games. They've kind of been struggling to start the year. And obviously, the Saints offense, that's the complete opposite. They have thrived to start the year, historically good, put up 40 plus in back-to-back games, especially last week on the road in Dallas against that defense going off their performance against Cleveland. That was very, very impressive. I did not expect that game. So credit to the Saints for that one. The Eagles' run game, I think, is going to be I think they're going to have a good running game. I think the Saints are going to have an issue stopping the run. I think the Eagles' offense, I think passing is going to be kind of a lackluster day. I think Dennis Allen's going to find a way to take away Devontae Smith. That's pretty much all. Jalen Hurts just passed to Devontae Smith pretty much the whole game last week. He had a couple of short ones to Britton Covey, but any passing beyond 5 yards, it felt like it went to Devontae Smith. So I think Dennis Allen's going to try to take Smith away. But I do think the Eagles get the run game. They have a really good run game. Saquon's probably going to be pissed off. He dropped that pass against the Falcons that would have iced the game. And they obviously lost that game. So he's probably beating himself up thinking all week about it. So he's probably going to come in really pissed off, try to take it out on the Saints. Saints offense, I think, is a good game. I don't think they'll put up 40 plus again. I think they kind of come back down to earth a little. I'm going to say I feel relatively comfortable saying the Saints get a good mix of touchdowns and field goals, and they'll score around 24. I feel pretty comfortable with that number, around that range. The Eagles, I think, score around, I'm going to say 17 to 20. I would not at all be surprised the Eagles win. Most people, 64% in my league, are taking the Saints. But I'm very tempted to take the Eagles. But I'm going to give the slight edge to the Saints. I'm picking them to be 3-0, which is, I wouldn't have imagined that to start the year. But I think I actually had the Saints, and I did my preseason prediction upsetting the Eagles this week, but obviously I did not expect the two teams to come in as they both looked now, especially the Saints. But just really hard game to predict. I'm going to give the edge to the Saints, and I have a strong feeling, a gut feeling the Eagles are going to win, but logically, I'm going to go with the Saints. Hopefully this one does not bite me in the ass. This game is literally a 50-50 game. 50-50 in my league. I'm in the Goat House, their Pick'em League on YouTube. Love that channel. Really love all those guys. That's my my go-to channel for football content. So I think there's a good, I think under 1,000. I think there's a couple hundred people in this one. So pretty good sample size, 50-50. This, oof, this is a very difficult game to predict for me. I had the Steelers and then I changed to the Chargers. So the Steelers probably are going to win this game, especially being at home. The Chargers played really well. Um, most people predicted them to be 2-0, especially last week against the Panthers. The week one at home against the Raiders. Most people would have think they were 2-0. Everyone probably just assumed the Steelers going to win last week in Denver. Most people put in the lose against the Falcons, so most people thought this would be a 2-0, 1-1 game, but Steelers are 2-0. Their defense playing really, really well. They gave up 10 week one, and then they gave up how many did the Broncos score? 6, I think. Yeah, 6. I'm pretty sure they scored 6. So that's their defense only allowing 8 points a game. So obviously that's a winning formula. That'll work. I don't think they'll sustain that. Obviously that'll work. Chargers defense playing maybe not as well, but scoring wise, they only allowed 3 last week to the Panthers, and then I want to see the Raiders only scored. How many? Let me look this up. How many points did the Raiders score? I want to say 10, but I'm not sure. Yeah, 10. So actually, the Chargers defense only had 13 games through. I mean, sorry, 13 points through 2 games. That's 6.5 points a game. So statistically, the Chargers scored a touchdown, kick an extra point. They win the game so far. Obviously, I think that's not sustainable. For me, I think the way this game plays out is running the ball. Both teams very heavy run game, a lot of draining clock. I think this is probably, if I had to make a guess, this game is probably the first one to end in the 1 o'clock games. A lot of running clock. A report came out today that said the Chargers plan on offense is to run, heavy run game against the Steelers, which they've done that the whole year, but apparently more emphasis on the run even tomorrow. I think the Chargers run the shit out of the football. Passing is very limited. I don't think Herbert's going to be a very, big stat type. I don't think he'll play bad. I just don't think he'll be passing a lot. Like Herbert, I think will probably finish with around like 100, like 150 or lower passing yards. I guess that's an extra prediction. But I think they run the shit out of the football, drain the clock. Their defense is good enough to stop Fields, and the Steelers' offense, which has really not been that good this season. A lot of field goals, a lot of running the ball, short passing. I think the Chargers' defense plays well enough to stop them enough times that the Chargers' offense just takes too much time off the clock for that's probably confusing. The Chargers offense is going to take too much time off the clock for the Steelers offense to keep up with them. I guess hopefully that makes sense. What I'm trying to say here. This is a really hard game to predict because the Steelers defense have been playing so well this year. I definitely could see that if the Steelers shut down the run, I think they win the game. I think the Chargers run game is going to have a good game. That's why I'm predicting them to win. But the Steelers stop the run against the Chargers tomorrow, which I definitely think is possible. They win the game. This is definitely a very low. If any team, or if either team, I mean, scores more than 20, I'll be very surprised. I think this has 17-13 written all over it. 17-14, maybe 20-13, something along those lines. But I do not see a lot of touchdowns this game. I think a lot of field goals, draining the clock, short passing. Each team played the time possession game. Steelers offense, though, I could see them getting the run game going. I think Fields could have a pretty good day running the ball, but I just think the Chargers defense is going to play well enough to limit the Steelers, force some punts that are going to bite them later in the game. Very, very hard game to predict. I think this is literally a coin flip. Like if I had to do my confidence probability, I'd probably say 55 Chargers, 45 Steelers. Very, very iffy on this game here. But I'm gonna give this very, very slight edge to the Chargers in this one, which they'll be 3-0, so good for them. Really like Jim Harbaugh, so if they end up winning tomorrow, that'll be obviously the biggest win of the year, so good for them. Next game, oh boy, sorry Broncos, 3%, boy. Broncos at Bucks. Yeah, not gonna overthink this one too much. Bucks are obviously the much better team. They're at home. Todd Bowles, really good defensive coach, going against the Broncos offense that is very, very much struggling. They pretty much just short pass, short pass. They have nothing in the run game going, just struggling to move the ball, score. Obviously, the Bucks defense is just really good. They held the line to 16 last week. Commanders ended up getting a garbage time touchdown, or else I think they would have held them to 10, I want to say. So the Bucks defense playing real well, even though they're really beat up. Let me see if Vita Vea is playing. Even if Vita Vea is out, I'm taking the Bucks. But let me see if Vita Vea is playing in this one. Um. Oh, he's okay. So Vita Vea is out. I'm still going to pick or not the Broncos, the Bucks in this one though. Baker in the offense, I think, could have a really good day. They didn't really have a fantastic game last week. A lot of improv from Baker kind of bailed them out with scrambles. I think the Bucks offense could have a really good day. Broncos defense actually played pretty well this season. Especially, last week the Steelers offense isn't too great, but they played really well against Steelers. They played fairly well against the Seahawks. Um, the Broncos defense definitely played well enough for them to be 2-0, but obviously that's not the case. They're 0-2. But I just think this could be an absolute disaster for Bo Nix, who has not looked very good first 2 weeks. I just think this could Todd Bowles, I think, is going to blitz the living shit out of Bo Nix, which the only thing, obviously, the way to beat the blitz is by getting the ball quick, and that's exactly what the Broncos have done. Just a lot of short passing and check down. So I guess that could work in the Broncos' favor. But I just think Todd Bowles is going to give Bo Nix a very long day tomorrow. It's going to be absolute hell for Bo Nix, I think. The only logic that says the Broncos have any chance is Todd Bowles is not a great very good defensive coach, but not a good head coach, and he's blown games in the Bucks that he should have won. That's the only logical, and then obviously Sean Payton gets a lot of criticism, a lot of slack, but Sean Payton's still a good coach. That's the only logical explanation as to why the Broncos could win. And the Bucks injuries, they're really beat up right now, but that's really the only logical explanation as to why the Broncos quit. I'm not going to overthink this one too much. I'm just going to go with the Bucks in this one. Start out 3-0. Good for them. Raiders, Panthers. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, 4% of people have the Panthers picked. That should be a lot higher. I'm going with the Raiders in this game, but I am not. I had the Raiders as my survivor pool pick early this week. And then when they announced Dalton playing, I was a little bit iffy on it. I changed my survivor pool pick to the Bucks this week, actually. I actually think this is going to be a lot closer game than people think. Most people are just going to think the Raiders are going to blow the Panthers out. I mean, I definitely could see that, especially at home in Vegas. But I think Andy Dalton definitely makes his team better. As awful as the Panthers offense has been, Bryce Young has just flat out missed some reads. He's missing guys. Andy Dalton, that is not going to be as big of an issue for simply because he's obviously a veteran. Can't talk. He's obviously a veteran. He knows how to read the field, read defenses better than Bryce Young. He played week 3 against the Panthers. He played week 3 for the Panthers against the Seahawks last year in Seattle. I'm pretty sure it was in Seattle. And he actually had a really, really good game. I want to say he passed for almost 400 yards. Let me look that up. Um, Also, Andy Dalton I saw is undefeated against the Raiders in his career. Okay, let me see. Yeah, he had three last year. He had 361 passing yards. He had 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. He had an 88 passer rating, so pretty good game for Andy Dalton last year against the Seahawks. I think the Panthers offense, this is the game where it I'm not going to say they start clicking, but it actually looks like an NFL caliber offense, not like the absolute shit show it has the first 2 weeks. I think the Panthers are going to keep this game close, and it's going to raise some eyebrows. And the talk during this game is going to be Raiders going to actually lose to the Panthers. They're actually looking not that bad. Are they going to steal this one? And then I think the Raiders are going to end up clinching it late, maybe pull away late. But I think the Panthers offense looks half decent tomorrow. Dalton, I think, has a decent game. I think the Panthers offense scores around, I'm going to say 17. I feel pretty good saying 17. I'm going to go stick with 17. I think the Raiders offense has a pretty good day. I think they're going to score around 24. 21 to 24. I feel pretty good with that score range for them. Yeah, I don't want to overthink it too much here. Even with Dalton, the Panthers are just still terrible. They're just God. I mean, they do have weapon. They have Johnson. They have Thielen. They have their first round rookie. I mean, they do have weapons. They just, yeah, just not good for them the first 2 weeks. Just not. I don't want to overthink. Raiders coming off that big comeback one against the Ravens, so a lot that surprised me, surprised a lot of people. Good for the Raiders. Yeah, I think they just take care of business in this one at home, playing a bad Panthers team. I think it'll be closer than people think, but I'm definitely going the Raiders in this game. This game, I feel very confident the Seahawks in this one. If Tua was playing for the Dolphins, this would be a lot. I probably still would go with the Seahawks, but I'm gonna yeah, obviously I'd be less confident. Skylar Thompson, I just think this is going to be an absolute disaster of an offensive game for the Dolphins. I think they're only going to score around 14 points. I think Mike McDonald has a really good defensive showing from the Seahawks, really good gameplay calling. I just think Skylar Thompson is, most backup quarterbacks are backups for a reason, but it is very limited action in the NFL. He is just not looked very good. Even dating back 2 years ago, or 3 years ago actually, when he played a couple games at the end of the year there, and then he played that wild card game against the Bills. Even dating back to then, he did not look very good. And just going to get in Seattle, that crowd's going to be crazy against a Mike McDonald defense that just has disaster written all over it. Dolphins defense really struggling in general, especially stopping the run. Let me see. Is Kenneth Walker back? Let's see. Seahawks optimistic. Kenneth Walker plays. Oh, week 4. Okay, so I guess he's out for this game. Regardless, I think Charbonnet will be good enough this game. I think Seahawks get a good run game going. Obviously, Metcalf, Lockett, JSN. That's a problem for any defense. But I think Seahawks offense plays good in this one. Their defense gives the Dolphins a lot of trouble. If the Dolphins win this game, I'll be surprised. I don't say that for too many games. It's the NFL. Anything can happen. Like this game, I wouldn't be shell shocked if the Panthers win, but I would be a little surprised. If the Dolphins win this game, I don't want to say shell shocked, but I'll be close to it, I guess is a good way to put it. Just not gonna, I don't want to overthink this one. I keep saying that, but I just think the Seahawks take care of business at home. I feel pretty confident with that pick. This game, I'm honestly surprised only 34% of people in my league are taking the Cowboys here. I'm going to pick the Ravens. I had the Cowboys originally, and then I switched it to the Ravens after hearing, some people talk about it, thought about it a bit more, and I went with the Ravens. Some people are picking the Ravens simply because they cannot see them starting out 0-3. yes, I understand that, but that's not, I don't think, the best way to pick games. I am going with the Ravens in this one simply because I think they get the run game going. I think Derrick Henry has a good game. I think Lamar scrambling is going to cause issues. I think the Ravens defense has an up, off, up and down game. Uh, I when I say the Ravens get the run game going, having Micah Parsons out there with as shaky as the Ravens offensive line has been, that makes me a little hesitant. But I I'm not picking them because of this, but it is difficult for me to see the Ravens 0-3, especially because they definitely should be at least 1-1. You can make a pretty good argument they should be 2-0 rather than 0-2. But at worst, they definitely should have beaten the Raiders last week. So at worst, they should be 1-1. Cowboys are definitely 1-1s, right? They obviously deserve to win week one. They got outplayed thoroughly last week. So 1-1 is right for them. Uh, I mean, I'm not surprised at all the Cowboys win this game, especially at home. They should win the game. If this was in Baltimore, I would feel a lot better about this pick. It being in Dallas, them coming off a loss, are they really going to lose back-to-back home games when they only lost one home game in 2 years, prior to last week? Oh, I think the Cowboys offense could have, if I had to guess a score, I think the Cowboys score around 20, Ravens score around 24. I could also see like 27, 24 Ravens. Um, yeah, I think this is a mix of defense and offense for both teams. Both offenses look good, but the defenses for both teams play well enough, force a couple punts, things like that. This is going to be a really good game, though. Would not at all be surprised if the Cowboys win. Probably another 60-40 confidence split for me. Yeah, I need Derrick Henry going in this one for my 0-2 fantasy team, actually. So hopefully he does have a good game. But would not at all be surprised if the Cowboys win, but going to give the slight edge to the Ravens in this one. Niners, Rams, not going to overthink this one too much. Niners are just the better team. Even with the Rams being full health, I think the Niners are better than them. But the Rams are just beat to absolute hell right now. And we saw what the Cardinals did to them last week, and the Niners are better than the Cardinals. So if the Niners did that, I mean, if the Cardinals did that to the Rams, and the Niners are better than the Cardinals, not to mention the Niners obviously like own the Rams in the regular season pretty much with the McVay Shanahan era. Just I think this will be I think the Niners win this one fairly easily. I think they win this by at least 2 scores, maybe even more. I just feel awful for the Rams. They're going to be 0-3, assuming they lose this game. And just healthy, they definitely are a sleeper team. They definitely are a contending team for the playoffs. Could make some noise in the playoffs if they're healthy. They are just so beat up right now. It's actually hard to believe how injured they are. Not going over Niners are beat up too. Obviously, McCaffrey's on IR, but obviously not to the extent the Rams are. I just not going to overthink this one. Don't mean to keep saying that, but it's just my thought process a lot this week, I guess. I'm gonna go with the Niners in this game. I if the Rams win this game, I'll be surprised if the Rams win this one. And it being in LA, I don't think plays too much of a factor because the Niners fan base travels really well to LA. That's been a big issue for them in the past. This game, this is a really hard one. Surprised this many people are picking the Lions 73%. I'm picking the Lions, but I would not be surprised if the Cardinals win. This is probably another 60-40 probability with me. The Lions obviously disappointing game last week against the Bucks. Their defense has outplayed their offense, at least to me, the first 2 weeks. The Lions offense, they moved the ball well against the Bucks, but they turned it over. Goff threw a pick. They had a turnover on downs. Then they had the end of the game there. Then they had that ridiculous end to half sequence where they went to spike and there's too many men on the field. The 10-second runoff, they couldn't get the field goal. They moved the ball. They just needed to execute better in the red zone. They would have won the game. They really should have won the game against the Bucks, especially with how injured the Bucks were going into that game. And then Vita Vea got hurt. I don't know how the hell the Lions lost that game. They should have won. The Lions offense just has something is not it's been missing compared to last season to the first 2 weeks. We've had spurts where it looks like, okay, yep, here we go, and then they stall out. The Cardinals, obviously, last week they won 41-10 against even though they're beat to hell, a good Rams team. Kyler had the best game of his career. I'm pretty sure he had a perfect passer rating. Marvin Harrison Jr. went off. Their defense looked good. You can make an argument they should be 2-0. They took the Bills to the wire in week 1, had a chance to win the game at the end there, couldn't convert on that 4th down. The Cardinals are a sleeper team. Obviously, if the Cardinals offense plays as well as did last week, they're definitely going to win the game. But I think this is the game. The Lions offense clicks back into gear. They get the run game going. They get the passing game going. Actually, I just thought, let's see. Let me see Amon-Ra's status. No, not stats. Status. He was a full participant in practice, so I'm going to assume he played. If he does not play, I might change my pick to the Cardinals. If St. Brown does play, I'm going to stick with the Lions. I just think their offense gets going. Their defense plays good. I think this game could play similar to week 1, but I don't think the Cardinals get the lead in week 1 like they did against the Bills. And maybe they do, but I don't think they'll get a 2-score lead like they did against the Bills. I think this will be a game where the Lions kind of strike early and then they might stall out a little bit. And Cardinals are right there, and it's within a 1-score game the whole time. And then the Lions end up pulling it out at the end. Yep, that'll be mean by my buddies, my word choice there. But yeah, I think the Cardinals off. I think Kyler scrambling could cause issues to the Lions defense. Connor's been a tank this year. This is a hard game to pick. Definitely could see the Cardinals winning, but I'm going to give the slight edge to the Lions. Looking forward to this game, though. This will be a really good game. Chiefs Falcons. I don't know why it's on the Falcons. I'm picking the Chiefs in this game. 90-10 split with the percentage picks. I could see the Falcons winning this game. Their defense has played very, very good this season so far. They didn't allow a touchdown 2 weeks ago, and then they only allowed 2 touchdowns last week against the Eagles. Obviously, the Falcons' offense looked pretty good. Not as good as the score would indicate, but they moved the ball pretty well, especially in the run game against the Eagles. They had some nice open lanes by their offensive line. Bijan and Tyler Algier got it going last week. Kirk Cousins looked better. He obviously that not even a 2-minute drill, it was like a 1.5-minute drill. That was like almost flawless from him. That was just beautiful to watch Kirk Cousins do that. As much slack as Kirk gets, he is pretty clutch. He's been pretty clutch in his career when he needs to score to tie or win the game. He's been pretty clutch. Yeah, I think their defense could play. The Chiefs offense has really not been a typical Chiefs offense. They've been scoring, but they have their moments where it's I don't know how to describe it. To me, the Chiefs offense this season has not been as good as it typically has been. It's kind of like their offense last year to me, where they're putting up a respectable amount of points, but they're winning more so because of their defense, if that makes any sense, hopefully. Jordan Love is not expected to start versus Titans. Okay, so let me scroll back up to this game here and switch my pick to the Titans. What timing on that? But getting back to this game here, Chiefs, because the Chiefs offense has not been good. It has been good, but not as good as it typically has been in years past. And the Falcons defense is really good, especially at home, prime time. I could see if the Falcons win this game, I definitely think it's because their defense balls out, holds the Chiefs to maybe under 20, maybe around 21-ish, that range. Um, a lot of people are making, not a lot of people, but some people I saw are making big uh a big talking point about how Mahomes is like undefeated in dome games. He goes off, except he lost the Colts 2 years ago, but the roof was open, so it was kind of a question mark. That was really a dome game. But Mahomes goes off in dome games, plays really good, puts up monster numbers. I could see a scenario where the Chiefs offense just full throttle. They get it going. They move up and down the field. They look like the Chiefs were used to. I think defensively, Spagnuolo is going to blitz Cousins a lot, test his mobility out. That could cause issues for the Falcons offense. I think the Falcons offense has a very up and down game. They look good, then they look bad, then there's a stretch where they look good, and then they look bad. I think it's going to be one of those games. I don't think they moved the ball as efficiently as they did last week against the Eagles. I think the Chiefs' defense is going to be the main reason they win this game. I, even though I kind of have a gut feeling the Chiefs' offense just scores a lot, just plays a really good game, complete, efficient game, like we're used to seeing their offense. I'm going to say the Falcons' defense plays well enough to hold the Chiefs to around, I'm going to say 21 to 24. I'm going to lean towards 21-ish, though. And I think the Falcons offense is going to score around 17. I think this is a relatively close. I could see a scenario where the Chiefs just win this game very comfortably. They're kind of in control most of it. The Falcons make it like a reasonable game, but the Chiefs comfortably win. But I'm going to predict a close game. John, I'm actually going to up. I think the Chiefs are going to score around 24. Falcons going to score around 17-ish. That's going to be my prediction in that one. I think this is relatively close, and I could see a scenario where the Falcons win or the Chiefs blow them out. It's a hard game to pick for me. Surprised this split isn't a little closer. Cannot stand how they do two Monday night games. Such a pain in the ass to try to watch both of them at once. I'm going to go with the Bills in this game. This is a trap game. Now, the Jags are 0-2, but I think they're better than an 0-2 team. They have not played week one, the first half against the Dolphins, and probably halfway through the third quarter, they played like a really good team, and then since that Travis Etienne fumble, they've just been a completely different team in the worst way possible. Their offense struggled last week against the Browns, except they did have a late drive. They scored a touchdown. They would have kicked the extra point. They would have had the lead. It got called back because of a penalty. Of course, it was to Christian Kirk, who I had on my team. I think I would have won had that counted. Of course, it doesn't, but that's okay. So the Jags, and then the Jags beat the Bills last year. It was in London, obviously, completely different circumstances. It was a little later in the year. The Bills, after that's kind of when they had their downward spiral for a bit, and the Jags got hot, went on that winning streak. I definitely can see a scenario where the Jags win this game, but I'm going to go with the Bills at home, prime time. They typically play pretty well. I think the Bills' offense is a pretty good game. They get the run game going. Well, they have. It's been going for them the first 2 weeks, but it has another good run game for the Bills. I mean, because that's what I'm trying to say. I think Josh Allen could have a pretty good game passing. Jags defense has been respectable. Under Ryan Nielsen, really like Ryan Nielsen, underrated defensive coordinator. I don't think this is going to, a lot of people are saying this is going to be a blowout. I don't think it's going to be I could see it being a blowout. If one team's going to blow another one out, I definitely think it'll be the Bills blowing the Jags out. But I think this will be relatively close. I think the Bills will score around 24. I feel pretty comfortable around that range. And the Jags score around 17, I'm going to say. Yeah, definitely could see a Jags upset. I think they're better than 0-2. Bills have been prone to some upsets the past couple of years. This could be a trap game for them, so I could see it, but I'm going to go with the Bills in this game. Commanders Bengals, the last game here. I definitely go with the Bengals. I would be absolutely shocked if the Commanders won this game. In Cincy, Prime time. Bengals got it going last week. They looked like the team, the elite team that they can win the Super Bowl, that people were expecting them to be. They're 0-2, and perfect chance to hit the reset button. You get an extra day off Monday night, prime time for any of your fans. Home game against a shitty Commanders team. I shouldn't say shitty Commanders. Not great Commanders team. I don't think they're one of the worst. I think they are one of the worst teams in the league, but I don't think they're like as bad as like Denver or Carolina. They won last week. They moved the ball pretty well against the Giants, but I think the Bengals defense just plays solid all-around game. Commanders, I think their main form of offense is going to be from Jaden Daniels scrambling and improvising, maybe getting some guys open on the run. I think that's going to be their main source of offense. I don't think running the ball, I think even though the Bengals been kind of struggling to stop the run, I think they contain the Commanders' run game fairly well. They kind of contain their pass game. I think the Commanders put up around 17. I feel pretty confident with that number. Defensively for the Commanders, I think this is actually the worst possible matchup they could probably face, because Dan Quinn, he likes to run a lot of man coverage, and the Bengals have weak corners. And not the Bengals, the Commanders have weak corners. And what is the Bengals' strength? Their offense. And why is that? Ozzie Burrow. And you have Chase and Higgins, who Higgins I think is expected to play. So you have Chase and Higgins out there against the Commanders' man defense and their struggling corners and secondary. I think the Bengals score 31, and I feel maybe I could see a scenario where they score between 24 and 31. I don't think they score any less than 24. Maybe 21 at the bare minimum. That's kind of lowballing it for me. I just think the Bengals, they know they're 0-2. They're going to play pissed off. They think they should have beaten the Chiefs. I think they should have beaten the Chiefs. I think they outplayed the Chiefs. They definitely should have beaten them. They're going to come in pissed off, 0-2. They know they cannot afford to go 0-3, playing a bad team at home, prime time. I think just going to take care of business. I don't think there's too much logically that suggests the Commanders can win this game. If the Bengals play what they did last week, then I'm confident regardless. But if they play what they did last week, then I definitely think they win this game. I would be shocked if the Commanders won this game. I think I had a 31-17 finals. That's why my 48 total points here. So yeah, I think I got all the games. Anything else here? Yeah, some good games. Really looking forward to this will be an interesting game. This will definitely be a good game. A lot of good 1 o'clock games. These two games, really good. Even though this will probably be a blowout, I'm kind of interested in this game. Not really looking forward to this one too much. This will just be a Seahawks blowout. Really good game here. Probably a blowout here. This will be a good game. Really looking forward to this game. This will definitely, I think, be the better of the two Monday night games. And yeah, confident with the Bengals in this one. So yeah, I think I pretty much got everything down here. Got everything off my chest, my thought process. Yeah, pretty good day of football. Glad, even though it's a blowout loss, glad my team played Thursday, so I don't have to worry about them playing in the early afternoon slot, trying to watch them on my iPad and watching Red Zone on my TV, keeping track of both channels at once, and just focus on Red Zone. So that'll be nice. Good games tomorrow. Exciting day of football. Big fantasy day for me. Big betting day. I only have one parlay because I lost so much money last week. I only have like $11 in my account now, so I only have one parlay. Hopefully that hits. But yeah, good day of football tomorrow, hopefully. Hope you guys enjoyed. Take it easy. I think my next video will be my I think it'll be my week 3 recap video. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Take it easy. Have a good day watching football tomorrow. And yeah, take it easy, guys. Thanks for watching.